Imagine you wanted to change the world. Where would you begin? Would you start with money, leadership, social media, political influence? As we will discover throughout this module, none of those matter unless people first have a reason to act. Every movement begins with a cause. Hi, I am John Alan Zalan, a procurement and supply chain professional based in Australia and a Doctor of Communication student at the University of the Philippines, Open University. Today, I will be opening our Module 4 presentation on social mobilization theories as part of our team's Build a Movement series in COMM 380 under Dr. Melinda de la Peña Bandelaria. Across 6 short videos, our team will build a movement from the ground up. Each presenter will unlock one resource card that explains one part of how social movements begin, grow, spread, and endure. I have the privilege of starting with level 1, the cause, because every movement begins with a reason to act. Before we discuss the theories of social mobilization, we first need to understand the phenomenon these theories are trying to explain. Social mobilization is not just about people gathering together. It is about how individuals, communities, organizations, and decision makers are brought together around a shared concern and encouraged to take collective action. Let us begin with 4 key terms. First, social change refers to transformation in society, such as changes in norms, values, institutions, policies, or social relationships. Second, a social movement is an organized and sustained effort by a group of people to bring about or sometimes resist social change. Third, social mobilization is the deliberate process of engaging communities and stakeholders to take collective action toward a shared goal. Finally, mass mobilization happens when this process occurs on a larger scale, involving large numbers of people across communities, sectors, or even countries. In simple terms, social change is the goal, a social movement is the organized effort, and social mobilization is the process of moving people toward collective action. To ground this discussion, we can use the World Health Organization's ACSM framework, which stands for Advocacy, Communication, and Social Mobilization. According to the WHO Handbook on ACSM for Tuberculosis Control, advocacy generally focuses on influencing leaders and decision makers, especially those who control policies, funding, and institutional support. Communication usually focuses on informing and persuading individuals or small groups. Social mobilization, on the other hand, focuses on generating community-based support and collective participation. I like to think of these as 3 levels of action. Advocacy works with decision makers, communication works with individuals, social mobilization works with communities and broader stakeholder groups. The first resource card in our Build a Movement series, the cause. The cause is the social problem, grievance, or shared concern that gives a movement its reason to exist. At its foundation, social mobilization begins when a private concern becomes a shared public issue. People start to realize that the problem is not only personal, but social. They also begin to recognize that individual action may not be enough, and that collective action is needed. Without a cause, there is nothing to mobilize around. But when people identify a shared problem, the possibility of movement begins. One important point is that awareness alone does not automatically lead to mobilization. Many people may know about poverty, corruption, climate change, inequality, or public health problems, but awareness does not always result in sustained action. Social mobilization asks deeper questions. Who is affected by the problem? Who cares enough to act? Who has power or resources? Who needs to be brought together? This is why social mobilization is a communication process. It requires information, persuasion, relationship building, coordination, and participation. To make the theories more concrete, our group will use youth-led and digitally mediated protests as running example across 6 presentations. In different parts of the world, young people have mobilized around concerns such as unemployment, corruption, climate anxiety, democratic participation, and economic exclusion. The outcomes of these movements vary depending on resources, political opportunities, media systems, and organizational capacity. That is exactly why we need theory. The cause may start the movement, but it does not explain everything. The next presenters will show how different theories help explain why some movements grow, why some fail, why some go viral, and why only some create lasting change. So, our first resource card is the cause. The cause is the shared problem or grievance that gives people a reason to act together. Every theory that follows assumes that a cause already exists. But each theory will explain something different. Why people mobilize, how they gather resources, when political opportunities open, how media amplifies action, and how mobilization can become sustainable. For our Level 1 challenge, I invite you to name one cause you would build a movement around. Then tell us whether you would start by mobilizing leaders, individuals, or the community, and briefly explain why. We now have our cause, the spark. But a spark on its own is not yet a fire. Before we can mobilize people, we need to understand the theories that explain why movements happen at all. For that, I am handing over to Sujay, who will map out the field for us through the playbook. Thank you.